Terminator, it's something that very gets into, maybe I think of my generation, because at least here, and maybe in my country, I don't know, I have seen technology kicking in. I mean, when I was 7 years old, I made my works at the school by hand, and when I had to look for something, I had books. There was no internet. There was nothing that had to be with technology. I remember the first computer, big screen computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I remember when internet got here, that I couldn't even understand what's this for. I didn't even see the use in it. So as my grandmother said, I'm so old. I was born without any electricity, any power. We were with candles, and when she died, she was sending emails. You know, so there's this age that we've gone from nothing to everything in technology, and that's why I think Terminator, it's important, like you said, that how technology can go from 0 to 1 million in a second, and how are we going to control it. So I really, as I was telling you, I really had an avalanche of people so interested. And yeah, I find it so amazing, because it's like a meeting point for the people that can appreciate that, and that the series, right?
I'm always surprised that people are interested in things I do. I mean, I'll be honest, I mean, a window into my life is I just sit and write stuff, and you know, if people like it, I'm very grateful for that, you know, but yeah, I mean, well, thanks for everybody that was interested in my work on the Terminator, I suppose. Yeah, it's a fun project. It's ongoing. I'm still writing stuff in it. So it's an ongoing thing. The Dracula stuff's ongoing. You know, and I've created a science fiction franchise with a sci-fi actress, Claudia Christian from Babylon 5 as well. So there's things that are going on in it. I've just got a job as a lead narrative for a video game.
Yeah.
I can't say what franchise it is, but it's a very big franchise as well. Like, so yeah, I just sit and write and just work, and yeah.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine.
I want a hint to the franchise. I want a hint to the franchise.
I don't even think people like to hint. I think I would get castrated. I think they would come after me and castrate me if I give a hint. I have to be very careful. But friend me on Facebook. All right, and you'll probably see what it is whenever it drops up. And you know, hey, look, I tell you what. For those people watching that want to know as well, I'll let Mara know, and then she can post up what it is on her site if she wants. So. Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's another aspect of writing that a lot of people miss, is the video game aspect, the interactive media stuff. Like horror is great for that too. Resident Evil was actually one of my favorite, like way back in the 90s. Resident Evil, first of all, was one of my favorite horror games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you also have a recent project, right? With the Return
of Dracula, yeah. And people are going to ask, how does Dracula return? Well, I'm going to tell you this. If you look at the end of Dracula, Dracula doesn't get killed with a stake through the heart. So when Van Helsing is sorting out the Lucy issue, where he's telling you have to hammer the stake through the heart, you have to cut the head off, and you have to stuff garlic in the mouth. That doesn't happen to Dracula at the end of Dracula. So he gets pierced through the heart with a knife, and he has his head. He gets his throat cut, but it's the throat, the head's not cut off.
Yes.
So he's not really dead.
Dead.
Okay.
And that Bram Stoker deliberately did that so that, you know, he could return. And now with Bram Stoker's great grandnephew and myself, he has returned. So we keep it very authentic. We're using some of Bram's notes. We're using the original typescript of Dracula, and we're kind of extrapolating the story. We're also injecting cosmic horror with it as well. So we've got Bram Stoker wrote a book before he died called Lair of the White Worm, which became a 1980s film. And what we've done is we've taken that, we've injected into Dracula. So our Stoker verse is, you know, linking all of Bram's sort of horror and fantasy universes and tying it all together. So that, you'll get to see all of that in the graphic novel. So yeah, it looks really good, I have to admit. The pages that have been released and the covers that we've got a Hellboy artist who's done one of the variant covers. We've got a Doctor Who artist who's done a variant cover as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of very big names working on it.
That's awesome.
That is impressive.
Yes, I have been thinking of this lately. Thought of you and all of these projects. And the other day we bought a bunch of comic books for my kid because we're both comic freaks.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was thinking of because because it's a store that it has a lot of different kind of comics and all of that, and we grabbed like some Marvel kind of, because I'm a huge I'm a Hulk fan. So much. I mean, since Hulk is my always, I'm the #1 fan, and I saw it and said, oh, we need to buy this, you know. And we took some of them, and I thought of you, Chris, and I thought, wait for it, because my kid said, but I don't know these covers. And I said, you wait for it. There's something in the oven.
Yeah, the Hulk's interesting. The Hulk's basically Jekyll and Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the old Jekyll and Hyde story. The Hulk's the old Jekyll and Hyde story. It's just done very, very well. So instead of Jekyll drinking a potion, it's a gamma ball.
Yeah.
Causes it. So, you know, it was really cleverly done. You know, you're a comic book fan, you were saying, Larry. What kind of comics do you read then?
Oh wow, you'll be shocked. Like, just give me a moment, let me show you.
Right.
Boy.
Show and tell. There we go. Show and tell.
I have my comics too. I have them here.
Okay, so currently, like in Kenya, some of like our upcoming like illustrators and authors have like these really amazing superhero comics that are derived, like sort of derived from you know, foreign media. Like for instance, like we have this one. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Shore Wanda.
Yeah.
And if you see at the illustration, it's sort of like a Kenya's Wonder Woman. Like it's so cool. Like the illustration is just nice, and they have like sketches in there, like of how they created her.
Oh,
yeah. So
that's
like,
nice. That's really nice. It's very strong artwork there, isn't it? It's very strong.
Yes. So I'm a fan of like trying to see like some of these African stories adapted into such comics. We have like others that are really cool, like this Cherry Bomb. He's a friend of mine, though he's in Japan right now. This one was inspired by manga. If you see at the artwork, I don't know if my camera is okay.
Yeah, like no, I can see it. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. This was like a manga styled, you know, sort of like comic, and I'm still yet looking for like part 2. And then some of us are just like try to create like original stories. Like this one is called Vibonzo. This means cartoons in Kiswahili. Yeah, so like it's like another it's like a collection of short stories by, you know, Africans, and like this is sort of like our style of comic and illustrations. So yeah, I'm a fan of such comics. I
That's
just love
awesome.
seeing people, Yeah. Other than that, I also have like a couple of Evil Dead here.
Oh, there you go. Mark's going to be happy with that. Evil Dead comics.
Yes.
Yes.
I have Evil Dead and basically anything I can grab. The thing with Kenya is that we don't have like a particular comic book store that you can get like a certain release at a certain date. So we sort of like just have to wait or import it or just have vendors on the street who like have an amalgam of comic books. So you just go and look at the ones that can appeal to you. So
Yeah, sure.
that's great. So that's what I'm into.
That's awesome. I just asked my kids to give me my comics back. You see, I took this one. Iron Man. I'm also a big Iron Man fan. Yes.
Iron Man fan.
Yes, it's this kind of. Ooh.
And so I just have visions of I have visions of Mar just going and saying, "Give me my comic." My kids just go, "No."
I went to the bedroom like, no, where are the comics? I need them. And my kid she was with the tablet and raised the head. They're there. Okay, thank you. Look, I took a Thor one.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And and Spider-Man, because we went to watch the movie a little ago with my kid and I had to take it. But it's the latest Spider-Man movie. It's like very, I don't know how to say it in English. Fluffy? Do you say that? A fluffy movie?
No, what?
Fluffy.
No Way Home?
Like stuffy animal,
It's too sweet. It's not. It's very and see that's I illustrate comics, so I ink comics, and I also comics as well. I do that, folks. And I mean, I gravitate towards obviously the more this is terrible. It sounds like I'm a psychopath myself, but I gravitate towards the more violent, gritty stuff. And a lot of there's one I'm working on at the minute called Malik, which is about an angel who goes to hell, takes over hell, and now starts to storm heaven. I don't know if you've seen any of that on my Facebook wall, Mark. If you go on and scroll down, you'll actually see one of the pages that I've covered last night, actually. So I like that gritty stuff. I like the Frank Miller, Sin City, all of that sort of hard-boiled, real dark stuff. Yeah, Spider-Man films aren't like that at all. I like the ones from the 2000s. I quite like that because they sort of delved into like Uncle Ben dying and really an interpersonal struggle.
Yes.
Like I was terrible. I could never date girls. Girls were never interested in me. So I was looking at Spider-Man saying, well, I don't feel so bad because Spider-Man couldn't get a date, right? So I was just sitting in the cinema, and I didn't read comics growing up, but it was the Spider-Man movies and stuff, and then I started getting into Spider-Man. I remember watching Spider-Man and going, "Oh yeah, he's having a shit time at the moment." So that's fine. That's that. And I was at university at the time too, whenever those films came out. So that was part of that. But now it's like Spider-Man has no problems with women whatsoever, and he's zipping about, and I think it really loses something in translation because you don't really see the struggle of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You don't see the struggle of the person. So
However, I think that is what works for like the current like generation who's like their target demographic. Like if you look at where we are currently, like this technological era, like with the advent of like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, like people are just looking for quick content. People are looking for something to satisfy the emotional desire at that particular moment. So that's why I think like filmmakers, and I don't know about illustrators or comic book writers, but I think filmmakers want to keep it straight to the point as much as they can without having to pull along like a long entire storyline and interpersonal struggle and
Yes.
all that. So, like
Um,
I've been to movies, I've been to the theaters a couple of times where
yeah.
they're showcasing such kind of movies, and you just see like the young people just take out their phone and start browsing TikTok. I'm like, yo, this is a very important piece of
Yeah.
like a story of information in this story, but they're like, no, we just want to see the
Yes.
major aspects, the boom pow of the film. They don't want to, they don't have time rather for that. I
And
think that's what technology has made.
and the thing is that probably you're right. We don't write for those audiences. I certainly don't. I certainly don't write for those audiences. I
Yeah.
really am. I allowed to swear on here? Can I
Yeah.
swear? Because
Mark.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I actually honestly don't give a fuck about
Yeah.
the TikTok generation. I don't give a fuck about the TikTok generation. I'm not writing for them. I have no interest in trying to please them. I have no interest in trying to be marketable.
Yeah.
I sat my nephew down and told him to go and watch Casablanca. I actually took his phone from him and threw it across the room. And I said, "You're going to sit and watch this with me," because he wants to be a filmmaker. He wants to
Yeah.
learn cinematography, and he wants to learn.
Yeah.
So I said, "You're not going to learn that from watching Fast and the Furious because they're shit films." And
Yes.
Yeah.
we keep these box office smashes like Jurassic World and all this stuff. It's like junk food, and that's why we're not satisfying either the entertainment needs or development of narrative or anything like that. I mean, you guys will get where I'm coming from. Like we used to go to the cinema, and after we went to the cinema, we would go for some date with our friends, and we would talk about the film, and we might talk about the film for a couple of days after it. Do we do that now? Fuck no.
No.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. But my nephew, when he watched Casablanca, and we're
Yeah.
sitting watching Casablanca, he got it. He
Oh.
actually understood it. And he said that was a very sad film. And I said, yeah. And we talked about it. And I said, Rick's relationship, I can't remember what the lady's name is, a terrible name, but Rick's relationship with the lady, I said, at the end, he makes a choice. And I said, that choice wasn't about him. That choice was about her. And I said, that's it. I said, there's an ability there. And you don't see the nobility in Rick for most of the bloody film, but you see it at the end. And there's a lot of lessons there too. And to me, like those kind of films, that's if you want to learn about writing, if you want to learn about, it doesn't matter if you're a horror writer or a sci-fi writer or whatever, look back at those old films, look at the beats, look at the paces, look at the characterization, look at the cinematography, feel the film. See, I don't feel anything nowadays with films. I don't feel anything nowadays. I mean, and so that's why I'm interested in seeing your film now, Larry, because you're gonna have to send me these things. I'm gonna have to watch this because I want to see what I want to know what I feel, because obviously you're a talented filmmaker. You've got a really good idea. You've got something you're talking about. You're talking about the emotional resonance that the characters have, and that was the first thing you actually talked about. So that's got me interested. I just don't think that's part of filmmaking anymore. It's very sad.
Yeah.
That's the sad truth. That's but I think it was inevitable. It's something that we just have, like filmmakers, illustrators have to adapt to eventually, because you can't write for the same demographic for as long as you'd like. So I think that's one of the struggle that I'm going through as a filmmaker as well, like trying to, because even on set, my cast members, of course, sadly, some of them were the TikTok generation, and they were like, okay, this dialogue is too long. Why do I have to say all this? And yet the point is here. I'm like, no, you're building up your character, you're adding to the plot. This information, this is why, like, I believe during the golden era of like horror movies, you would get a lot of sequels of a particular horror movie because it was so rich that something could be derived from that, like people could relate. That's why we had like what are they called, like cult followings for like certain movies, not only horror. But nowadays it's just, I just watched Spider-Man No Way Home. there's no conversation, as Chris said, there's no conversation after that. There are no meetups after that. You're just waiting for the next screening. I once went to a cinema and saw someone. We walked in. We were watching Candyman. We walked in to watch Candyman. The moment we left, Candyman. The moment we left, he went again and bought another ticket for a romantic, or it was a rom-com. I don't know if it was the boyfriend's something bodyguard, Hitman's bodyguard. I was like, dude, you need to take time and savor
think about
the film
it.
you just watched. Exactly. Like, you just don't go from one movie and watch another and assume it's just like the way you swipe a TikTok video. Like, I was disappointed. I'm like, yeah, that's them. That's the people.
But there's also a neurological thing there too, because you have to. There's a process whenever you are absorbing a narrative, or if you're watching something. There's neurons firing and new neurons being made, and all the scientists watching this are going to go, he just don't know anything about how the brain works. True, folks, I don't, but I do know that you have to give your brain time to assimilate that information and to process it and really look at it. Now, we've always had bubblegum entertainment. I mean, the Friday the 13th films are bubblegum entertainment. Nightmare on Elm Street's bubblegum entertainment. But and I'm not a big fan of those films, but but you've always had, and among that, horror that actually means something. Psycho is one of the series where you see a man whose mother dies, and then he becomes his mother, and he can't relate to women sexually, so then he has to commit murder. There's so many ways of getting into that, the head of Norman Bates, and again, it's that that whole. It's horrifying because it's very real. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think, is quite deep. It's that isolation. It's the you could just go down the road of it's just hillbilly inbreeding, but I think it's more than that. I think it's about the mask and why he wears the mask, and he has various masks that he changes to his, because he doesn't have his personality can't come through in any way but these masks. And how he relates to the human body. And I've always thought Leatherface is somebody with extreme Asperger's who just feels difficulty with controlling or expressing the emotion on his face. So he looks at the emotion on other people's faces and thinks that's what I have to feel, and then cuts their face off and puts it on his, staples it on his. And that's why I look at Leatherface. And that's the difference between those kind of films, and then what we're seeing now. So I really struggle against it. I really, like the new Terminator films are really bad. I'm probably going to get kicked off the franchise for saying this, but they're really bad.
Oh my!
They're really, really, really bad because they've lost the depth. I mean, the latest one they have, the Terminator. It started off quite well. The Terminator finally kills John Connor, and we then have an alternative timeline, right? And then we beat that Terminator later, and he's just developed a human personality. He's called Carl. He lives in the forest. He's an interior decorator. Now, that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Exactly. How did that? Okay. What?
Yes. Yeah.
Because right, and my theory on this is that it's there's a fear of hypermasculinity in films as well, and I think this is a way of trying to turn very ham-fistedly, trying to turn the tables on hypermasculinity, where we have the Terminators now in a series. He's getting in touch with his feminine side, and it was terrible that the film just went just in the complete nosedive, and that's not the Terminator. But I would like to have seen the Terminator, experience regret. I think regret it's interesting, and the machine starting to feel emotion. Now, that if I was writing it, the Terminator would then be going through hell a form of emotional and psychological trauma and hell because it's experiencing emotions that it wasn't, that it's not used to. That's a form of horror.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And that's the thing. I think people back in the day were not afraid to take those risks to just show those conversations in bold. Because right now, then again, blame technology. I think for filmmakers and any person who's into the visual media is scared of the conversations their film would stir. Like think of like a film like I Spit on Your Grave. It had like very insane like undertones of feminism, but people then didn't give a fuck what people are gonna say. But right now, after every movie screening, there are tons of like platforms where people can shit about your movie, shit about your thought process. Like there's Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, all these platforms. People will just take your ratings down. Everyone has their opinions. It's so easy as the tap of like a button. So I think that's what makes filmmakers a bit skeptical of diving deep into some of these aspects of their films.
Look, I've got a question for you, Larry. Right? Negative reviews, do you care about them?
Nope. Personally, I do not care about negative reviews, but then again, I'm still starting off. I don't know the kind of reception. Like previously, I have done like shorts that I've gotten negative reviews, and I'm like, I'll still do the next one, and I'll still do the next one. But if you're kind of a person who takes it to heart, I think that's when you start sort of like limiting. That's what happened in Kenya when a certain prominent filmmaker did. It was called Otto the Bloodbath. That was like the last horror film that was done in Kenya, like let's say 2006. And he got so much backlash on the film because it was gory and bloody. And after that, that guy decided not to do it. And so now what currently we're seeing in Kenya is this narrative, this popular narrative of, like good girl gone bad or poor girl gone rich. That is the kind of narrative like a majority of the films in Kenya are doing. And since they get good reviews because they show, oh, this poor girl came from the village, is in the big city, and she is doing okay, she gets into trouble and surpasses that, and yay, flair and fireworks. That appeals to many audiences in Kenya, and that is what has been going on for like the past 10 years. 10 is a bit of an overstatement. Let's say like for the past 7 years, and that is not changing. There are very many filmmakers who have brilliant ideas, but are afraid of the setbacks that the society's opinions will put them at.
I tell you what you could do, Larry. Right, this is an idea of mine. You and I could maybe write this together. It could be fun. But you start the film off, and it's good girl goes to the city, right? So all the filmmakers, all the film watchers, oh, good girl, this is the same thing, great, fantastic. Good girl becomes cannibal.
Yeah.
Good girl. So it starts off, and it's all like, oh yeah, she's this poor girl, and she's making it in the city, and it's fine, and all looks great. And then she goes to her nice big job, and she's wearing all the latest fashion, and it's like Sex in the City, and she goes up the steps to her nice apartment, and she opens the door, and she shuts the door, and she goes into her bathroom, and there's a man naked, bound and gagged, and she smiles sweetly at him, and she just checks her makeup, and then she comes back with a chainsaw or a power tool of some kind, like a drill, and then starts to torture him and dismember him, and then eat him. And you could do that. That's a bait and switch. Straight away, a bait and switch. In fact, what you could do to go completely against the grain of corporate culture is get her to dismember the man, put parts of the man in the freezer, and then bake parts of the man in a pie, and then serve up to her boss. He thinks she's great and gives her a promotion.
Oh my god! And yes,
wow.
Yes, I love this idea. And then maybe probably this could be like part of her, backstory. Like she was into a cult, or maybe it was some form of ritual that she took.
Yeah, maybe. Do you know what would really upset people in your country? If it was a form of sexual fetish.
Hmm?
Oh,
Oh.
I'm pretty sure people would have
You'd have
opinions
to
over this. But
you would have to
who gives a
leave your
shit?
country. You'd have to come to Canada and seek refuge in Canada, wouldn't you? You would,
Probably. But I'll be like, it's
that
freedom
would
of
get you.
speech.
I also
That
want
would
to go
get you.
to
That would
Canada.
get.
I'm so jealous.
Well, I was kidnapped. I was kidnapped. I got married and came here, and yeah, my wife is not into horror at all. Um, another one of the other things I do, I'm actually the editor of the Horror Tree as well. So I edit a quite a popular horror magazine. My wife was listening to one of my business meetings about it, and she had to get up and walk out the door. Well, she really hates, like, she absolutely hates horror.
Yeah.
She lives with me, and it's this, yeah, it's this. But again, I say I'm not a horror writer. I'm just a writer, and I've got science fiction, horror, fantasy.
Yeah.
I've written some drama. I've done, but yeah, the horror genre has been very kind to me, and I think it'd be fun. I think horror and science fiction are the best ways to explore taboos, prejudices, really bring things out in the open that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And that's your power in Kenya. All right, that's what you could be doing. Yeah.
Exactly. Just restructure the narrative based off what people are already acceptant to,
Yeah.
and sort of like I said at the beginning, just sort of like slowly is tighten the screw on it, so to speak, because previously one thing we really had to tone down based off like some of our partners and collaborators. They're like, okay, the original script is a bit too gory and it shows a lot of violence, and yes, we have like this sort of like government body that really monitors some of these films. Case in point, there's this very amazing writer who did a film. It is called Rafiki. You guys, I can send Mar the link. It is
Okay.
based off LGBT. And what happened, this is actually pretty interesting. What happened, there was a scene in this movie. Think of what is the most LGBT film I've ever seen? I don't know, maybe Glee or whatever. So there was this scene where these two ladies were kissing, and this government body was like, oh no, you cannot show that. It is not appropriate. And I'm like, the writer was like, that's the whole point of this film. They could have done worse, but still they refused it. So what this producer and the directors did, they just took their film, took it to France for the Cannes Film Festival, and screened it there. It got so much hype. It won a couple of awards. And so the government body was like, okay, you can screen it for 7 days, for only 7 days, 1 week. That's all we're giving, because people were so mad they couldn't get it in Kenya, and it was meant for Kenya. So they screened it for 7 days. It had an amazing audience. So theaters were booked to the brim. And that sort of like told me, like, you can, if you really stick to your guts, if you really stick it to the man, so to speak, you'll find a way to get through it. So once we come up with this script of the village girl who's cannibal, I'll just come to Canada, seek refuge, screen it there, and be successful. Be like, refuge. Oh, so now you want me back in Kenya.
Yeah, but I kind of envy you a bit, because you do have something. You do have something to rebel against. You've got that. I mean, that's a very creative aspect, right? So, I've got nothing. Nobody cares about my stuff. I mean, it's just like, oh, he's writing something again. What was the most insane thing that it did was maybe have somebody get fucked up the ass with a pair of scissors or something. I think that was the.
Yeah, true. I think
that was it. Nobody cares.
Having something to rebel against, actually, that is what drives me to create horror. So I'm like, okay, nobody's doing this. I'm sure people wouldn't want this. But then again, the film industry and the visual media industry here in Kenya we are like 10 years back. So what is happening in Canada, what is happening maybe probably in Spain, is like 10 years down the line in Kenya, like even our like production budgets,
Well, I don't
our
know.
visual
Spain
aesthetics,
is the late in everything.
No,
I
you
think we're
say that,
still in
but
the 16th century here in Spain.
century.
I mean,
I've always wanted to visit Spain. I've always wanted to visit Spain. I've always
Me
wanted to go to Spain for a
too.
holiday.
Me
mhm.
too.
I have
Nice.
this.
You're all welcome.
I have this. I have this vision of Spain. Like I go to the beach. Little glass of wine, go to the
Yeah.
beach. Looking at the sea, looking at. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I just
Well, we have
feel
lots
that.
of sea and lots of wine.
I just
See?
want to be there
That's
for
the
the
thing
food.
and beer.
Oh,
I'm more of a beer gal than wine, but
Yeah, I am too. I like a good pint of Guinness. Always
right.
good pint of Guinness. But
ooh.
I drink the horrible stuff. I drink like Budweiser, and I drink stuff that people turn their nose up at. I drink the American beers. I mean, yeah. So our viewers are getting a real look into my life, at the minute. But yeah, I used to go to the bars.
Chris,
Yeah, then you need to
Chris,
come over.
you'd be shocked. Like Guinness is so popular here in Kenya.
Is
Like
it?
people
And
love
here
it.
too.
I love it.
You see,
Yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
expensive. It's very expensive over in Canada. I mean, I sort of abstain from alcohol now for health related reasons, but Guinness Zero's out now, and apparently it just tastes just like Guinness. It's a non-alcoholic Guinness. So I'm on the non-alcoholic beers now. But whenever I did drink alcohol, I would have gone to the bars and gone for the really shitty American beers like Budweiser and Miller. And everybody said, so a lot of people in Canada are sort of like beer snobs, and they go for like all the IPAs and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting with my long sort of like brown coat, unkempt hair, sitting at the bar, nursing this shitty beer.
Yeah.
You'll be there like, do you have any moonshine?
Yeah, give it to me in a dirty glass. Give me a dirty glass.
It is dirty, rusty glass.
Because I've got this kind of like long brown coat that's like a detective coat, right? So I've got that. I wear sort of the fedora hats as well. So I wear a shirt and a tie and go to the bar. So I look like one of these like old fashioned sort of detective type guys. So hunched over.
Like a Sherlock.
Over the dirt. What do you want? Give me another one. I'm working a case here.
Sherlock Holmes here.
So I did used to smoke cigars as well when I was younger. I had a lot of bad habits. I'm a reformed character. I'm 40 next week. I'm 40 years of age next week, so I'm a reformed character. I can't afford to. I'm getting old now. Yeah.
No, you're not. You don't look a day over 20, but
that's the Vaseline in the lens. I brought Vaseline in some of the lens is a bit blurry. That's what that is. Some people can afford Botox. I'm too poor for that, so I have to get some Vaseline and put it in the lens of the camera.
Like sort of like a makeshift filter, like home.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Too technologically dumb to apply a filter. Too poor for Botox. So get some petroleum jelly and go, there we go.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
I love talking to you. I could be talking to you all night, but I think we're running out of time. We'll have to call this a day.
Yes.
All right.
I thank you so much for being here today with me. We need to make another one of these.
Most definitely.
Do that. We can do that. Larry can bring the Guinness.
Yep. Yeah, I will buy. Specifically, I will buy it for you.